Yo, what's good with y'all, man? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new and if you ain't new, welcome back. You feel me? My name is Yooooooo, and you about to be talking about some hoops today. Now, as you can see in today's title, we got y'all the rankings of the top 5 centers in the NBA today. And I did make a rankings like this to start off my YouTube channel. I believe I did a top 10 when I first did it. This is going to be a top 5 with some honorable mentions heading forward. Before we get into the video, though, leave a like down below to show some support on the channel. And I'm going to be doing this for every position. So to get those videos out faster, again, show some support on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you ain't new, like I said, welcome back. You already know it can't be a Swervo rankings list without breaking down who would be in the honorable mentions. In the list for this video, we got Jared Allen, Miles Turner, Brook Lopez, Christian Wood, and Kristaps Porzingis as the 5 honorable mentions that could have potentially made this list. I'll be real, out of all of these honorable mentions, the one that got the absolute closest, and it was like damn near splitting hairs whether I was going to put him over the first person we got in the video for the top 5, was Jared Allen, because I feel like the numbers might not amaze people. His overall game isn't too flashy. He's not consistently getting you 20 and 10. And his skill set on offense is a bit limited. But his impact on the floor, especially defensively, is really underrated. And while he might not be the most willing shooter in the world, he has developed his offensive game where he has a reliable post hook. And due to his IQ on offense, he really doesn't kill your spacing either. And he is a more than reliable pick and roll partner diving to the basket, while being one of the league's best screen setters and having a true shooting percentage of 62%, which is shockingly a career low for him this season, especially being one of the league's better rebounders and rim protectors. But to be honest with you, I just feel like he's not on the same level as some of the other players on this top 5 list, because A, he doesn't get the same amount of touches, and B, I just don't believe that he has as much of a significant impact on a roster as much as other players within the top 5 who are a lot more crucial of a focal point within their team system. First up on the list, we got Domantas Sabonis of the Sacramento Kings coming in at the 5th spot, and he has played a very crucial role in the solid start that the Sacramento Kings has gotten off to this season. It started off slow and pretty mid with a 3-3 start, but as of late, they've been on a winning streak, and he's played a pivotal key in their success recently. In his past 5 games, he's averaging 19 and 12 with 6 assists and shooting 69% from the field and hasn't missed a 3 yet. Now, Sabonis isn't the most willing floor spacer, as he is shooting 31% from the 3 and taking only 1 a game, but that's not where he does his damage. He's actually one of the better passers at his position, and I'd argue the second best passing big man next to Nikola Jokic. And for a big man that excels at passing as well as he does, he gets his teammates activated on offense. When Sacramento's best offensive lineups is when he's in the game. And as of right now, they are the best offense in the league. He has a career-high offensive rating of 121 points. And not only is he averaging the least amount of field goal attempts in his past 4 seasons, but he's also having a true shooting percentage of 65% while doing it. Sacramento uses him as a Swiss Army knife within their offense, having him involved in a lot of handoff actions and just pick and rolls. And they even use his gravity within the low post to get perimeter shooters open and for him to use his passing IQ to spot the right play. Although he's largely responsible for why Sacramento has one of the best offenses in the league, you could say he almost has just as much of a responsibility of why they're not the best defense in the league. Due to his lack of explosive athleticism and verticality, he's not going to be up here blocking shots for you consistently, as he's only averaging like half a block on the season and about a steal. But he's also not really able to switch across multiple defenders with his foot speed. And he's just not really that great of a defender, I'm not gonna lie. He's not really consistent on that end of the floor. But he will hustle on the rebounding end for you, as he's always been consistently a top 10 rebounder in the league for the past 5 seasons. And this season, he is 8th in the NBA. And amongst the league leaders in double-doubles this season, tied with players like Giannis and Anthony Davis at the 4th spot. This might be the season where Sacramento ends their playoff drought. Sabonis a big factor in that, getting some chemistry going alongside the lineups in Sacramento since the trade from last season. But it's just hard for me to see them playing as good as they're playing without him creating offense for them the way he is this season. Now, before some niggas look at me crazy for seeing the image they see on the screen, yes, I do have Rudy Gobert at the number 4 spot on this list. And it's because I wholeheartedly believe that this is a copy and paste version of what we got out of Rudy in Utah and Minnesota, which is one of the league's best rim protectors and one of the league's best rebounders. And let's be real, Minnesota fans, you knew what you was getting before you got him. You feel me? Now, I'm not saying the fan base hate him, because there is a warrant out there for D-Lo's trade request. And this ain't no shade at D-Lo, and it is a bit off topic from a top 5 list. But I do feel like the offense would run a lot smoother if they traded him or had him coming off the bench. But back to Rudy Gobert, I mean, when he's out on the floor, they're a top 5 defense and a mediocre offensive team. And when he's off the floor, they're slightly better on offense and they become a bad defensive team. And it alludes back to the point of knowing what you're getting when you got him. I mean, of course, he was a much greater impact in Utah, at least offensively, because of the abundance of efficient shot creators they had in Utah, because they simply just had a lot better floor spacing. So it made his job of diving to the rim a lot easier due to the heavy use of the pick and roll, their ball movement, and their 5-out offense. We revert back to Minnesota. I mean, you have Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell, who are both streaky volume shooters from the perimeter. And then you have Jalen Noel, Jordan McLaughlin, and Kyle Anderson, who aren't scaring any defenses from out there either. You don't have the most consistent floor spacing, you feel what I'm saying, outside of Towns. And we've already seen complications out in the media about how he's kind of clogging up the paint for Edwards to take off and how that's impacting the inside scoring. Towns has been a mess on perimeter defense. Maybe highlighting all this stuff really isn't proving that he's a top 5 center in the league right now. But the overall fact is Rudy Gobert has repaired some of the defensive woes that Minnesota deals with, but the roster around them just isn't fitting that well as of right now. And to be real with you, he's just on this list because despite not being as skilled as some of the other offensively talented big men we have on this list, the man does have a consistent reputation for being one of the league's best defenders and one of the league's best rebounders. And despite the chemistry issues going on in Minnesota, they're on a 4-game winning streak for what it's worth right now, and I do believe that some things can get fixed. Maybe a trade or two. A possible solution for one could be staggering him in Towns' minutes, just putting him in certain lineups where his defensive capabilities can be more maximized, because it's pretty hard to really hide Towns on defense nowadays, especially with him transitioning to the 4 with them getting Rudy Gobert. Next up on the list, we got Bam Adebayo from the Miami Heat. And this dude is one of my favorite players in the NBA because not only is he so versatile on the defensive end, but I feel like if he is used more within the offense, he can easily be a 20 and 10 type of player. Now, when you see Bam Adebayo put the ball on the floor, I have to be honest, in my opinion, he is probably one of the best ball-handling centers in the league, because it looks like this dude is like a wing player, the way he's able to put the ball on the floor and create a basket for himself. Even though that's probably not saying much because bro's like 6'9". His touch within the mid-range is a bit underrated as well, where he's shooting a respectable 47% from this season, alongside his passing IQ and his ability to finish around the basket. And for someone who is not known for being a shooter, he still finds ways to be active without the ball in his hands on the offensive end, whether it's setting an off-ball screen for perimeter shooters to get open, or being involved in a handoff play or a screen action that continues the motion on the offense. Not to mention that he's been the anchor for a top 10 defense in Miami for the past couple of years, and being one of the league's most versatile defenders we've seen since a prime Draymond Green. Being able to effectively guard positions 1 through 5, whether it's getting a good contest within the paint on a big man, or being able to switch out to the perimeter to guard opposing ball handlers. Now, despite Miami's early season struggles, due to injuries to Oladipo and Jimmy Butler, and following the loss of PJ Tucker, it has led to this group being a mid-tier defensive unit. But I still had to put Bam on this list. So understand that Miami's offense is a very team-oriented system, where you have guys like Max Strus, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, and Kyle Lowry, who are going to take anywhere from a range of 10 to 15 shots on a night-to-night basis. Specifically with Hero getting paid over the offseason, they've been using him as more of a primary source of offense when he's in the starting lineup. Bam's usage rate over the past 3 seasons have been a bit steady, but I do believe that this man has the skills necessary to become more of a go-to guy within this team's offense, especially seeing some of the aggressive performances he's already been putting on in the month of November, as he's averaging 20 and 10, and he's made more of an attempt to get to the free throw line, converting at a pretty good rate. Even, for example, in the last conference finals they were in last season against Boston, when he did choose to be more aggressive on the offensive end, he's shown that he could score in a lot of different ways, whether it was in transition, bringing the ball up, playing in and out of the pick and roll or the post, and also being able to take his defender off the dribble at times and get to a mid-range shot or either be a lob threat in the half-court setting. To be real with you, out of all the centers on this list, despite the Heat struggles, I do believe that Bam has the highest upside on the defensive end and the most skillful center on the offensive end, aside from the next two centers I am about to name. We got Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers, and when I first made this list, I'm not gonna lie, he had at the #1 spot. Not gonna lie to you, and I gave him the slight edge just because he is a better defender than Jokic, and that still holds true to this day. I do believe that they are very comparable within their offensive stats. And, you know, although Jokic is the better perimeter shooter, better passer, I do believe that Embiid can compare in terms of how his offensive production can be towards his team. But with that being said, I do believe that I have to give Jokic the slight edge this year just for the simple fact that he just elevates a team like no other. I do believe that Embiid can be more dominant in a sense that he will be more aggressive on the offensive end in terms of taking those 30 shots if they're down in a game. He's not going to be looking to get his teammates involved, and not to say he's a nut or anything like that. But let's be real, he's more of a score-first mentality than Jokic is, where I feel like Jokic, you could put him on a team with other role players, and those other role players are going to look like quality-ass starters just because of his existence on the court. I mean, honestly, it's debatable whether whoever you would have at that #1 option. I mean, him and Jokic, bro, I hate to compare greats sometimes because it derails from one's greatness as well. But at the same time, they both have an argument for being two of the top 5 players in the entire world right now. But since this is a rankings video and that's kind of the purpose of this video, is to make comparisons, why not? Let's just jump into it. I believe that Jokic is the better decision maker between the two. Scoring wise, I do believe that Embiid is the more aggressive scorer, but I just believe that Jokic is the more efficient scorer, especially when it comes to shooting on the perimeter and when it comes to dealing with double teams, which they both attract very consistently, being the superstar talents that they are. In those situations, I believe that Embiid is more of the impulsive decision maker, where I do believe that he has gotten better at making some of those passes or decisions in the past 2 seasons as opposed to the beginning of his career. But I just feel like even in that department, Jokic is just a lot more coordinated. And in a split second, he could be making a play to someone who's cutting or just finding a perimeter shooter on the opposite end of the floor. And at that point, it's kind of just like a 3-level chess match, because it's like, from a defensive perspective, if you double a man, you're at least hoping to hinder his decision-making or make it tougher for him to make the next basketball play. But defenses go into it knowing that Jokic is going to make the right play 95% of the time, which forces the defense to be even more sharper on rotations, knowing that he can make the next level play to a teammate to get a bucket or go and get a basket himself. Not even to feed my argument, but in this conversation, while speaking of buckets, I wouldn't pay too much close attention to the points per game averages, because obviously Jokic is shooting a lot more or less shots. He's trying to get his teammates and Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray going, coming off of injuries in their previous seasons. And his usage rate and field goals attempted per game is a lot lower than Embiid, as most nights Jokic isn't even the leading shot taker on his team. Whereas Embiid put on his MVP campaign hat prior to his injury to carry the load in Philadelphia to make up for some of the injuries within the roster, which doesn't make his last 3 to 4 performances any less great, but they were in similar situations last season, and we all know that they have the ability to turn it up a notch offensively if it is required for them to score more. Like I said, I do got to give the edge defensively to Embiid, where he is a better help side defender and rim protector than Jokic, and just a lot more mobile and athletic on the defensive end. And Embiid definitely does a better job of getting to the free throw line. Jokic uses his side to his advantage when it comes to protecting the basket in the paint. I mean, he isn't going to be jumping out the gym to punch any shots, and he's definitely not stepping out to the perimeter to guard opposing guards and keeping up with them. But at the same token, he's not a complete liability on that end to his team. And I didn't want to use this in my comparison, but I do feel like Jokic is a lot more sustainable and durable than Embiid, even outside of injuries, because even in a game, even though they both have a sluggish type play style in spurts of the moments of the game, I do feel like Jokic is a lot more conditioned to play through a longer spurt of a game than Embiid, who be looking gassed after like the third quarter. But then I could see a fair point being made in that Embiid is asked to have more defensive responsibility than Jokic, and he's been the anchor to a top 10 defense for the past few seasons now. That being said, I mean, I can go on and on comparing these two. Efficiency wise, they're like 4th and 5th in the league. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. It's just my opinion. I feel like Jokic is the best center in the league right now. And they both can prove me wrong as the season goes along. Hopefully they can remain healthy. That being said, though, if you enjoyed the video and if you have any debate on any of the positions or players I had on this list or the rankings I had this in, let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to leave a like or a dislike on this video. I don't give a shit. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you ain't new, welcome back. We get litty in this section. It's been Yooooooo talking about some hoops, and I'ma holla at y'all, man. Y'all be easy.